that you make it, and maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Aren't you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Aren't you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? You ain't gonna make it, you ain't never ever gonna break it. You can never beat them and they're better than you face it. Thinking that they give a damn, you're not thinking straight, kid. No, they don't give a damn, you got what I'm saying? I'm not fucking playing, I'll give it to you straight, man. There's too many others and you're not that great, man. Stop what you're saying, stop what you're making. Everybody here knows that you just faking.
Hello and welcome to the Neat Glass sponsored Whiskey Tangent Podcast, Whiskey Madness 2023. The road to the final pour, a 4-week-long blind tasting tournament featuring 16 whiskeys from around the world. I'm Scott, and joining me as always is Ed.
Hello, everybody. It's that time of the year again, and you know that I am super, super excited.
And back once again to try to bring some sense of fairness and decorum to our annual bit of whiskey ridiculousness is Sherpa Gabe, King of the Pineys.
Hey, and that's not going to happen. We know that.
What, bringing fairness and decorum?
Yeah, and I'm waiting for a bribe too as well.
Wow.
I can lean one way or the other, but my black and white jersey's on. I'm going to be as impartial and fair as I can be until I get drunk.
During the tournament, what we do is we seclude Gabe deep into the Pine Barrens, surrounded by his minions that don't let any of the distilleries know where he is or get to him.
I feel safe.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. It's a luxurious cabin, though. It's like 3,000-4,000 square feet. Like
he's glamping.
It's got a sauna.
It's actually a triple wide.
Got a sauna, yeah.
Hello.
It's a triple wide.
Hello, ladies.
He's got a triple wide in the middle of the Pine Barrens.
Big pimping in all that sand.
That's right. That's right. And just constantly get on just ringed by guys in overalls.
Oh, ringed and guys in overalls. Okay.
Yeah, protection. That's the security force down there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's the Pine Barren Defense League.
All right. And so, as it has been in years past, our venue remains the wondrous, neat glass-shaped Whiskey Tangent Arena in delightful downtown Marlton, New Jersey, better known as my breakfast bar. And the crowd here is simply besotted with a nearly frenzied anticipation, because if you listened to our special preview earlier this week, you know that we've again organized our brackets by proof.
Yes.
And today, in round one, we'll be squaring off 4 90 to 99 proof expressions and 4 120 and over proof expressions. And of course, Ed's here to reveal the 8 whiskeys that are contending today to make their Whiskey Madness wishes come true.
That's right, Scott. So in the 90 proof, there's a couple of names that are very recognizable to even casual whiskey drinkers. The top seed is going to be the Sazerac Rye.
Sazerac Rye.
Now, that might surprise you, and I understand that. But if you listened to our Whiskimentary on whiskey competitions, we had our own little whiskey competition, which we called the Ochos. And in that, Sazerac Rye won our top award.
Yeah.
It won whatever triple platinum made-up thing we have, which we call the Ocho.
I mean, we're almost obligated to put it in the tournament.
Right. I would think that the number 2 seed, Maker's Mark, which has been around since the 50s, it's just a regular Maker's Mark bourbon.
Yeah.
We figured having a pedigree that goes back to Eisenhower administration, they deserve a shot to show what they can do with the tournament.
Sure.
And so the Maker's Mark camp is furious at the selection committee for this, but based on our own experience with Sazerac Rye in this podcast season, they're number 1. So Maker's Mark's on there at number 2. We have a recent feature on the podcast from Journeyman Distillery, Not a King Rye, is ranked number 3. And then Redwood Empire whiskey, that was actually my birthday present from Scott.
That's right. The Lost Monarch.
Right. That's the 4th seed because it doesn't really have much pedigree.
Right.
So now that brings us to the 120 proof. Once again, we like to spread out the proof that we drink so that we don't get drunk and ruin our palate.
Right.
The number 1 seed is the Alberta Cask Strength Rye. It won a lot of awards and a lot of acclaim.
Yeah.
And we're giving that the top seed. So, and you say, well, maybe because it's the most expensive. No, you'd be wrong, because that would be the Nulu single barrel bourbon number 2, an up and coming company from Louisville, Kentucky. And it's the only traditional Kentucky bourbon in the 120 plus range.
Yeah, it's a very eclectic bracket.
Right. Next, we go to the 77 malted wheat whiskey from Breuckelen, New York, and the Breuckelen Distillery. And lastly, the Old Line American Single Malt is the 4th seed, residing in Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah.
And I actually met one of the 2 founders of this company.
Yeah.
And they have an interesting story. They were a Air Force team, a pilot and a communications officer. They were guys who were in the service together, and they formed their own distillery. And so, you know, they're veterans, and it's a good story. So they're coming in pretty hot, as I remember.
Yeah. So, Gabe, do you have any idea who might come out of the 90 or the 120 proof?
Well, in the 90 brackets, I've tried 3 of the 4.
Okay.
I've had the Journeyman, but not that brand. I've had the Whips.
The Corsets, Whips and Whiskey. Yeah.
That was good. That was nice and strong. This one I'm not sure about. I've had the Redwood Empire, which I thought was pretty good. As for the 120 bracket, I'm shooting in the dark there. Never had any of these. I haven't even heard of like 2 of them.
Interesting.
That's great. That's what you want.
Yeah, especially if you have to break some ties, because you might have to break some ties in that, because all of these, I think, are really good.
And I want to put a shout out right now. The Nulu single barrel bourbon was given to me as a parting retirement gift by people I work with, along with another whiskey, which isn't in here, the Hearst 7.5 year cognac finished, which is a very nice whiskey.
Very nice.
We'll probably feature that on the podcast next season.
Yes.
But for now, it's not getting dumped into this tournament, I'll assure you. It's a very nice bottle.
No, you don't want to do that to that, no.
But the Nulu, once again, which we have featured, not this particular expression, but Nulu's been on twice in the podcast.
Yep. Yeah, the Alberta's been on. The 77 Malted was on our weeded episode. You talked about Sazerac.
Right.
We never had regular Maker's Mark before.
Nope.
Or did
Surprising.
we?
When we went down the shore with Mike, wasn't it against Larceny?
Oh, shit, you're right.
Right.
So it has been on,
right,
but we never put it in the tournament.
Right, we never put it in the tournament is what my point was.
Yeah.
So it was on our first weeded bourbon episode for sure.
Yeah.
Because it is a weeded bourbon.
And the Not a King, just the last episode, but the last Monarch, we have not had that
right, so
either.
Last Monarch is a no. Old Line is a no.
Yeah, but all the other ones
have been on the podcast, and we do like to do that. We like to bring out the whiskeys that we've introduced to everybody and see how they do in the tournament.
Yes.
And of course, part of that is because if we have a half a bottle of something, that we don't have to go out and buy another $100 bottle.
Yeah.
I mean, just for the record, the 77 malted wheat whiskey was a $100 bottle. The Nulu is an $80 to $90 bottle. The Atlantic Cask Strength could be anywhere from $70 to $90 a bottle. Now, I mean, 2 of them are new. One was given to me, thank God. Or else we would have
right. That's true. Yeah, sometimes it's economics.
Yeah. So once again, first up, we're going to be doing the 90 proof bracket. It'll be number 2, Maker's Mark, versus number 3, Not a King Rye.
And Gabe's going to move over to the preparation area, and we'll be right back.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
So we are back, and before we get to the tasting, I'm going to read the rules. Now pay attention, this is the only time I'm going to read them for the entire tournament, all right?
Yeah.
All right?
Yes. Okay.
We have 4 glasses, 2 marked A, 2 marked B. Gabe pours one of the whiskeys in each glass A and the other in each glass B, then hands them to Ed and me for tasting. Ed and I will indicate our final choices on the official Whiskey Madness 2023 scoring cards, hand them to Gabe, and he will read the results. If Ed and I have agreed, then Gabe reveals which whiskey we picked and declares that whiskey the winner. If Ed and I disagree, we'll go into overtime. Ed will pour for Gabe, who will pick A or B to break the tie, after which Ed will reveal the winner.
Correct.
And that's it. So Ed's going to tell us a little bit about Maker's Mark.
Before I do, I just want to remind people that No Shock will be using the neat glass, which is the #1 competition tasting glass in America, made specifically to taste whiskey. And since tasting whiskey is the biggest part of this tournament, we'd be fools not to use the neat glass.
Absolutely.
So Maker's Mark, like I said, it's one of the oldest bourbon brands post-World War II that's been around. And I think it's safe to say that there's not a liquor store that sells bourbon that won't have Maker's Mark. It's not Jack Daniels, but it's in the ballpark of that.
Or a bar, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of times when you see in the background of movies, they want to show someone drinking bourbon. I remember on Boston Legal, they had Maker's Mark in the office, and everyone knows Maker's Mark when they try to refer to what people are
that
doing.
character's drinking a bourbon, so now I know something about it.
Right, and it's a very recognizable bottle with the red wax seal.
Yeah.
It's a 90 proof exactly, very Ed-friendly, because it's 70% corn, 16% soft red winter wheat, and 14% malted barley, which is a high malted barley count as well.
Yeah.
There's no age statement, but it's rumored to be about 6 years. You should be able to find it for around $30. It's supposed to taste some oak, vanilla, maybe add a little green apple and cinnamon, tiny bit of clove and cocoa powder. Definitely vanilla, definitely caramel. And then the wheat does give like a little roasty, grassiness to the oak flavor as well in the finish. And that's where we're at with it. Maker's Mark is a classic. I guess we all kind of consider it a little bit basic, And it'll be interesting to see how it does. I mean, we actually think Larceny is better than it.
Right.
And we ranked it second, but I don't think any one of us is confident that it's going to win this bracket. And yet, I bet you Maker's Mark is. Like I said, their team's freaking out over not being the top seed, and they have every right to be mad about that.
Right.
And tell us about the competition for Maker's Mark. It's going against a completely opposite distillery. Right?
Yeah, so this is Journeyman's Not a King Rye, which we did on episode 61 with the Whiskey Chicks, in which 3 out of the 4 of us like this one better. So this is a straight rye. Its mash bill is 60% rye, 35% corn, 5% barley. Its proof is exactly 90. I think all of them are exactly 90 in the 90 proof bracket.
Very strange.
The age is at least 4 years. The price is $45. This is Journeyman Distillery in Three Oaks, Michigan. The tasting notes I have for it are light and creamy sweet corn, caramel, greenwood, and rye, which quickly transitions to pepper. So, Ed, as you said, vastly different distilleries, also vastly different mash bills. And despite the same proof, I think Not a King is just going to taste hotter than 90 because it did on the episode. And I think we're going to be able to tell the difference. But I wouldn't say that we really love either of these. Maker's Mark is a little bland, as you said, but we've kind of come around on it. And Not a King, for me, came off as a bit strange on the episode. And I didn't immediately take to it, but I did come around on that one too. So who knows, maybe either one won't sit with me quite right today.
So Gabe's going to pass us over.
Gabe has poured the whiskeys and he's going to pass us the
This is the A.
glass A.
Okay. Oh, I see. There's actually an A on them. I was like, how does he know that?
And glass B. Yeah, I put them on the bottom so you
I
can
see
look
that.
straight through.
All right. So we have an A and a B.
All right.
Now, as Scott and Ed are nosing A and B, both of these are very similar in color.
To me.
Yeah, I agree.
They are as identical as they can be.
Yeah, but the nose is definitely different. One has almost a leathery quality to it, definite rye spice. And the other one is very light sugar, a little bit of fruitiness. I did get a little bit of like a cocoa powder.
Okay.
I don't really want to talk about what I'm smelling because since we did the tasting notes, I don't want to be like if someone says green apple and I'll be like, oh, I want to just really just taste them for what they taste. So I'm just not going to comment on it. You guys can do what you want.
Scott's getting water. Ed should probably have some water too.
Yeah.
Oh, some drip water. Some
I don't
droplets.
usually need that for 90, but I appreciate the effort.
I don't know why you're casting shade on me. First, I'm not allowed to nose it. Now I'm not allowed to drop any water.
You're allowed to nose it, but I don't remember us doing that before. I'm sorry.
90 proof is like, tap water to Ed.
Wow. They're both good. But that's the real trick to this is that we feature whiskeys that are pretty good on the podcast. Then we put them all together in the tournament. And so it's pretty rare that we get a train wreck up to our mouth. Like it's like...
Yeah, but having said that, there are a lot of dark horses this year coming in. You probably don't have a great background for a lot of these ones you've already tried, history-wise.
Yeah, and what's funny is actually the one I thought was going to have the lighter heat, actually to me has a little bit higher heat.
I think they're very close, Scott. Where are you at with them? Have you tasted them yet?
They taste very different, but in terms of liking them, I agree. They're pretty evenly matched. They just have different taste profiles.
You talking like heat-wise, taste-wise?
Heat-wise, taste-wise, smoothness. I think A has the longer finish.
Yeah.
The B has the nicer finish.
Yeah. Very sweet and crisp.
Yeah. I'm just going to drop 2 drops in there just to see what happens.
Apparently the 90 proof is too much for Scott.
No. Sometimes you drink a little too much and you get it on the back of your tongue and it kind of burns anyway.
I'm not casting shade and put water. Sometimes it brings out flavors that you didn't see initially on the straight taste. Well, Ed's selection is in. We are waiting on the Scott.
It was tough. I went with the one that was more pleasant in my mouth at the time. Considering I know which both of them are, I didn't expect either of them to taste like the one I chose.
Yeah, I agree. Here, I made my decision.
Okay, we have Scott's selection in. And, looks like I'll be doing a tiebreaker.
Oh, okay.
interesting.
Scott picked A.
Okay.
Ed picked B. A was the Journeyman Distillery, not a King.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by that.
B was the Maker's Mark.
Maker's Mark tasted very, very sweet, green apple-y.
I had the green apple
almost
too.
finished like an Irish to me, which is, I know it's not Irish, but I mean the finish alone was like crisp and subtle but sweet. The Nana Rye is more complex.
I'm a little surprised at Scott because I remember you talking about this one and you were kind of like put off by the initial tasting of it. It was a little bit different than what you were used to.
And then I grew on it, but my decision was made because there's something about Maker's Mark's finish. As I drank it more and more, I liked it less and less, and then I put the water into it, and the water just brought out so much more in the Not a King than it did in the Maker's Mark. And so the finish is what did it for me, and that's why I picked A.
Which is funny. I love the finish of it today, which normally,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's interesting.
It's all about your days. always.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to switch. We're going to be right back, and Gabe's going to assume his spot.
Woohoo!
And I'm going to pour him A and B, and what that A and B will be, only I will know.
That's right.
And we'll see who goes through.
All right. Overtime. All right, Ed has poured the 2 whiskeys for Gabe. Once again, we have Maker's Mark Bourbon versus Not a King Rye.
Right. So here's glass A, and here's glass B.
There's a hair there.
Well, it certainly isn't yours or Scott's. So I'll take the blame for that.
I have hair, just not on my head.
I got more hair in other places than on my head.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to nose these up, and you guys talk amongst yourselves. The A is a nice appley, vanilla, basic flavor. Nose. I'll shut up.
You can say.
Yeah, say whatever you want.
I kind of like talk myself into silence.
You're the entire podcast right now. Whatever
now.
you're doing.
It's all about you, Gabe. No pressure.
He's tasted them now. Somewhere deep in the heart of New Jersey. Ooh, yeah. They need Gabe to make the decision.
They're lighting off fireworks.
Glass B is a very kind of a leathery, oaky, not harsh, but just a bit more woodsy.
Yep. Roller.
And Glass A is just a classic, nice bourbon. I think I know which ones they are, but now let's clear the palate and give it another shot.
Like I said, they're pretty evenly matched, even though they taste differently,
Right.
because they're both pretty good.
I'm going to close my eyes. You should hand me one, hand me the other.
All
'cause
right.
I'm having,
Right. We call this the Scott technique. Perfected by Scott back in 2020.
Okay, I got my eyes closed.
This is glass number 1, which could be A or B.
Yep. Took
Well,
a nice,
a
nice
nice
healthy
big
sip.
dram
Big
there.
dram of that down. He's not fucking around right now.
Damn.
He's all in.
You ready for glass 2? All right, glass number
That's that
2.
glass. This is going to break the tie, and then we're going to send one of these on to the next round.
I'm taking glasses away so he doesn't know which one was which.
Do you remember which is which?
I do.
Okay.
I think the second one you gave me was the B. I think I'm going to go with B.
Oh, yeah, the second one was B. And B.
The Not a King Rye will be going on to the next round, upsetting Maker's Mark in a
Upset.
split decision. And if you thought the Maker's Mark people were mad about getting the second seed, they are furious. They've kicked over the Gatorade. It's a melee in their Maker's Mark bench right now.
Shit.
As they can't believe it wasn't holding. Sorry, different controversy.
I liked them both, but I just think that something was different in that B, and it's time to give it a chance.
So in our first round, an upstart, up-and-coming, smaller distillery knocks off one of the classics in Maker's Mark, and we're going to take a short break. Gabe will reassume his position here at the pouring station. I will reassume my position, and we'll go on to the next whiskeys.
Watch me.
I'ma get it how I wanna get it, you don't get it. I can do anything, I don't got a limit. I'ma make my mind up, I'm committed. It might take some time, might take a minute. I won't give up, I don't give a shit. I do what I want when I wanna do it. Call it a power or call it a gift. I call it persistence or driving some wit. I ain't no minute man. Good things take time when I'm in it, man. Give me some time and I'm with a fan. Now I'm gone too far from the beginning, man. I can teach you, but you gotta listen. I got lessons on lessons to give them. Think the masters are open and wishing and thinking and driven and cutting the ribbons.
Watch me.
Let's go.
Watch me.
All right, we're back. Hey, that's my line.
Gabe has been waiting.
How's it feel to get your toes stepped on, bitch?
I copyrighted that like 2 years ago. No.
Oh, no. Now you have to pay Ed.
Right.
Okay.
Cha-ching. No. So we're back with the next matchup.
Yeah.
We've cleared the court. You know, it took a while. Maker's Mark people, they threw debris on the court.
It
They're
got
like,
ugly.
This
It
is
did.
ridiculous. They had I Like Ike banners from the 50s that they threw out there too. It's like mass confusion.
I like Ike.
Regularly. And now the next two whiskeys are warming up. We got classic from Buffalo Trace, of course, the Sazerac Rye. I mean, Buffalo Trace doesn't make a lot of what I want to drink because they keep it kind of, low volume, but Sazerac, they've been making a lot of. That used to be hard to find around here, and now it's not only findable, it's cheaper. And it's interesting because in my research, it said the MSRP is $23, but then it says in some areas 40 plus.
Ah,
And it used to be 40 plus here, and now I think it's like $29.
yeah. I saw it for 32, I think.
Right. Well, I think I paid $29 for this. But
Did you? You owe me $3.
Like this is my type of rye. First of all, of course, it's made in Kentucky. It's 90 proof, like we talked about all of them being.
Yeah.
It's a very Ed-friendly rye. 51% rye, 39% corn, and 10% malted barley. 6 years aged, similar to what the Maker's Mark is claimed to have been. When you're talking about a flavor profile on this, there's a little bit of spice on the front of it, and then there's like a little bit of citrus, maybe some orange or lemon. Pear. Some people said you can get some peppermint notes. Lingering peppermint, like you just spit out your gum, like the flavors in your mouth. It's very subtle.
It's pretty mild, yeah.
Scott, tell us about the opponent here.
Yeah, this is the Redwood Empire's Lost Monarch. It's a blended American whiskey. Its mash bill is 60% of a 95.5 rye and 40% of a 75% corn bourbon. The proof is 90. The bourbon in this was aged 4 to 12 years, and the rye was aged 3 to 5 years. So if they had to put an age statement, they could only say 3 years. But they do have some juice in here that's up to 12 years. The price is only like $35. This is Redwood Empire Distilling in Grayton, California. Fun facts, Redwood Empire is named after the coastal area in northwestern California that stretches from San Francisco to the Oregon border and is dominated by massive forests of the Humboldt redwoods. And Lost Monarch itself is named after the world's largest coastal redwood tree in those forests.
Wow.
Tasting notes on this are sweetness from corn and spiciness from the rye combined with an almost maple syrup-like flavor. Vanilla and caramel notes lead to a persistent yet subdued peppery finish. So similar, actually, to the Sazerac notes. So this is very similar to the last one, mild versus odd, I guess you would call it.
Right.
For the Sazerac, it was on this year's Whiskey Commentary Part 3, where it won the Ocho, which we've mentioned. Among the three of us, we were pretty stunned that it came out on top against a bunch of high-proof stuff that we loved.
Yeah, we loved
like the
all of
varsity
it.
barrel proof and
Yeah.
all that other stuff. But it was so consistent that because we tasted it twice over the 2 rounds, it ended up bubbling to the top. But the Lost Monarch is so odd, a mix of bourbon and rye, that who knows? This is like a wild card here.
Yeah, what an affordable birthday present for me too, by the way, I have to say.
Well, if you recall,
I know.
Someone's getting-
I got you two
I know, you got
whiskeys.
me 2 whiskeys. I'm just busting balls.
And that was actually your Christmas present. Your birthday present was much better.
Oh, yes, it was the Irish.
Right,
Correct.
it was the Redbreast 15. So, Gabe, what do you think about this matchup?
Well, I mean, Sazerac has been the standby forever. It's always lingering. It's always there with us.
Bartender's best friend. Like
Yeah.
I kind of love it. And I'm really happy it's really making its way back into the market again. Now, going up against the Redwood, which I've also had a bottle of it, and it's interesting little...
Did you have Lost Monarch?
Yes, I've had that
Same one?
bottle.
Okay.
I don't remember a lot, but I know it was drinkable. It was
Yeah.
doable. It wasn't a throwaway.
I think I only had one taste of it once when I gave it to Ed. We opened it and had a dram it. You can see it's almost to the top, and Gabe has already poured the A's and B's. So I guess just hand us A and B now.
Here you go.
All right. Ooh. Surprisingly similar.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought I'd be able to tell the difference on the smell.
I mean, one is a slight bit sweeter than the other. But then again, I don't know which one that is. I mean, because we got the Sazerac rye, which is on the sweeter side rye, but the other one is a mix of bourbons and ryes. So
Does one taste spicier to you? You're a rye guy.
well, I didn't taste them yet. I'm just,
Nose-wise?
yes. One is spicier on the nose than the other one, and
Absolutely.
so one's sweeter and one's spicier.
So you may think you know what you're nosing, but you could be wrong.
Because I don't know what the Redwood smells like.
No,
Right. I don't have that out of my olfactory library.
Right, 'cause so you would think that the full rye is the one that smells more rye, and that the blended bourbon and rye is the one that smells sweeter, but I don't know if that's true.
But you could be wrong.
Because the rye is only 51% rye. It's got a really high corn, 39%.
Exactly.
Okay.
Ooh, I mean, I got to taste these. A smells amazing. I really like it.
Wow.
What are your thoughts, Ed?
They're both good again, but they're different. They have a very different finish.
Yeah, they're a lot more different on the taste than they are on
I'm
the
not going to
nose.
tell which is which. I think one is a very sweet and clean finish, and I think one is, it's almost incomplete to me. It's very complex, but it seems to just stop.
Well, I mean, you both have had Sazerac. It's an old friend.
Yeah, but I mean, not in
really, though.
No, in
Really?
drinks, but not just sitting in a glass.
Yeah.
I mean, until we did the Ocho, I don't think I've had it by itself in years.
Maybe it's me. That's one of my standbys. I always love that
Yeah,
Sazerac.
it's great. But for a while, as we were saying, you couldn't get it. And it was expensive. And I didn't want to pay $50 for it because it's stupid.
But now that it's 32, I'm going to buy it all the time. All right. Getting to the bottom of their glasses and they're torn.
For me, the finish is making the difference. I think I'm leaning towards which way I'm going to go.
Are you getting sort of an opposite? Like, I feel like A comes on strong and fades out fast, and B tastes a little watery on the front and then really zooms up its finish.
That's fair to say.
That's kind of what I'm getting there. I'm going to taste them one more time.
Ed's choice is in. I got a feeling this is going to be unanimous. I'm not sure.
To me, it was a no-brainer. Not that the other one wasn't good, but for me, which one would I want to drink all night? Not even a question.
Scott is handing over his selection.
To me, the finish was just raw and incomplete on the one I didn't choose.
So I think Gabe's drinking again, just from that comment.
No, I was correct. It is a unanimous decision.
Shit. Okay, so we both picked.
Both picked B.
Right.
And B
was Monarch is moving on.
And I have to tell you, I thought maybe we had the other one.
I did too. Like, I had no idea the way this was going to
So
go.
that was shocking to me. The Sazerac was a little fiery, surprising for 90 proof. And the finish of it was just a little bit incomplete. It was complex, but I wanted something else. Like I had this buildup of flavor and spice, and then I wanted something to smooth out the end, and it just seems to stop.
Yeah.
While the Redwood, it's a journey that's slow starting, but just blows through the end. And you're like, wow. And since the finish is your last memory,
Yeah.
I think I'm going B. It's like, I'm really surprised because I really, in my mind, thought they were reversed.
Yeah, and so what I said, I thought it was going to be a tie because of what you said. I took your comment saying it was incomplete to be as if it was immature. But what you were actually saying is what I was actually tasting is that it just kind of drops off into nothing.
Right, the Sazerac.
Yeah, the Sazerac did. And so now I can see why we picked the same one.
The end stage of the finish doesn't come.
No.
It just like hangs and like echoes. I had like a little burn in my throat, but I didn't have that last bit of flavor.
Very interesting result.
2 upsets. The 3 and the 4 are going through. Not a King Rye and Lost Monarch whiskey will meet 2 weeks from now in the semifinal round. And the 2 big distilleries that we tried to feature,
We did.
Maker's Mart and Buffalo Trace,
Both out.
were knocked out.
Amazing.
All right, so the 3 and the 4 move through. It's a round of upsets so far. Let's see if that continues into 120 proof, where coming up next will be one of the most interesting matches of the night. The Nulu single barrel bourbon versus the 77 malted wheat whiskey. Both of these are like $90 bottles. They are both elite whiskeys and they're completely different. And I can't wait to see how this breaks down. So let us wash the glasses, bring in the new spirits for the next round, and we'll be right back.
That bass on the beat for a minute. When I spit these words to the beat, no limit. I don't make no sense, I don't need no gimmick. I'ma say what I think, be real specific. And I'm after the chase, I'ma pass on the race. You could ask me the way I attack every day. I adapt and I change, never cap, and I say what I mean, how I think, and you know I'm here to stay like, keep my head up, shit gets harder and I get fatter. But that don't get me nowhere, that gets you to give her. So I stay strong and do my thing, I never let her. If I get knocked down, best believe that I'ma get her. Man, this world's fucking crazy. Man, what's been going on lately? Is this good? Yeah, amazing. Feels like a fever fucking danger.
All right, we're back now. We've opened up the next bracket. The high proof. We've done some deep knee bends, and we each drank a quart of water, and we're ready to go. The number 2 versus the number 3. The number 2 Nulu single barrel bourbon versus the 77 malted wheat whiskey from the Breuckelen distillery, spelled all funky like. Don't put it into your phone without the old English spelling.
You're supposed to do the Nulu.
I know, but I'm just saying what.
Okay.
I'm just saying what's coming up.
I know.
Okay.
It's coming up now.
But yeah, well, right. I forgot to bring it on my phone.
That's why I'm just reminding you.
Yeah, and as you should. I was all into it. I got
again,
You were totally into it.
I got carried away.
That's why I didn't want to interrupt.
Putting the ed in edit.
That's
Also
right.
the ED.
But if you make it funny, I leave it in.
Right.
So keep making jokes, Gabe.
ED. When you can't get it up.
Wow. Wow.
Oh my God.
There are
I never
pills for
put that together. Holy shit.
Yeah, I wish I yelled it. It's all the fault when he said that, so you couldn't use it.
Well, fuck you. I can because I'll just bleep out.
I know. I said it too late. Had I said it as he was saying it,
Can't get it up. Don't even work up.
Oh shit.
All right, here we go. I'm ready.
All right.
All right, so up in the first round of the 120 proof and above bracket, we're going to have the Nulu single barrel bourbon going against the 77 malted wheat whiskey. The Nulu is a product from Prohibition Craft Spirits. It's blended from a small batch of 4 to 5 year old MGP bourbons. Okay. So there's a couple of them they use, but this one particularly is a single barrel. So they pick either a 4 or 5 year MGP single barrel.
Right.
The mash bill is crafted by them. It's 75% corn, 21% rye, and a 4% malted barley. And this one is bottled at 122.6. The nose is very oaky and rye, spice, a little cinnamon, a little bit of brown sugar, vanilla. The palate, the oak notes come back with baking spices, dark fruit notes. And then the finish should be medium but pleasant, they're saying, with baking spices, cinnamon, and oak. So pretty much consistent all the way through from the nose to the taste to the finish. Very interested in tasting this one. I've enjoyed every Nulu I've had, but I've never had this one.
Right. We tasted one. It was a toasted barrel on Doug's Vault.
Right.
And then we tasted the toasted maple barrel finish on the Christmas Eve episode. And
Right.
both were delicious, as you
Both,
said.
yep.
So what it's going up against is the Breuckelen 77 malted wheat whiskey. It's a malted single barrel. So this is also a single barrel. Straight wheat whiskey, however. It's
Right.
100% malted wheat.
So interesting mash. We've never had anything like it.
Yeah, it's the highest proof we have in the tournament. It's 137. Its age is 8 years. This is the Breuckelen Distilling Company in Brooklyn, New York. Fun facts, we featured it on our wheat whiskey episode, which is number 57, where we declared it one of the best whiskeys that we'd ever tasted.
Right. So if it loses to Nulu,
Yeah.
A, either we're full of shit, or B, the Nulu's really good.
I know. So, I mean, I love this entire bracket just because it's so eclectic. We have a rye, we have a bourbon, we have a wheat whiskey, we have a single malt.
Yes.
But in this round, we got the single barrel bourbon versus a single barrel wheat. Now,
Yes.
I'm not sure the 11 proof points of difference is likely to throw us off because
No.
the 77 is really smooth for its 137 proof.
It is.
And the wild card here is that we've never had this particular expression of the Nulu. We've had their other stuff, their toasted barrel.
Right.
But will it have enough flavor to wow us over the 77, which we love?
Can I just come in here and say I have no opinion on either of these?
Okay.
Can't come in me and say that, no.
Oh, my God.
And by the way, no wheat till
No wheat till
No wheat
Brooklyn.
till Brooklyn.
I like it. It's really good, Gabe.
Right.
This is the quality stuff that the Pineys love you for.
Good stuff. Doc's not here.
Doc,
Okay.
Doc is here? Doc is not here. That's some weird, wild stuff. Johnny
right.
Carson, we are
So
old.
old.
So old. All right. Gabe has poured the whiskeys and he is handing us glass A.
Glass A looks dark. It's like leftover coffee in the morning.
There's coffee grounds in it. A is absolutely much darker than the B.
I might know which one they are just because of the smell, too. But I don't care which one tastes better, but I'm about to find out.
Right, because one is 8 years and one's about 4 to 5 years.
We are not in the 90 bracket anymore. Holy cow. Just came up and punched me in the face. It's like, stop complaining, sissy. Drink me down.
Damn.
The A?
Yes.
The A is coming out swinging. They just grabbed us by the throat and said, drink me and shut up.
We forgot to prepare for this one. Woo, we just jumped up 30 proof points at least.
No, it could be 47.
Yeah, shit. It smells so good. It tastes so good.
Oh, my God. Wow.
Ooh.
The second one's interesting.
All right, so I got a lot of corn off a B on the nose. And it's hot, though. But it's not, like, off-putting, either of them. They're
No.
both very hot, but
Yeah.
smooth for the level.
I didn't put water in the 90s. This one's getting water.
Yeah, definitely.
I need to open these up. These are both just hostile right now.
Ooh.
They are taking full swings at us. They are not playing around.
I mean, this tastes like a new leather belt smells. A. So much leather on
Yeah.
it. Oh, I love it.
is it like walking through your S&M shop?
My S&M shop?
you-
As if
are
I
you-
frequent one?
Are you saying my closet?
Gimps are us.
That's right.
Ball gag, ball gag, ball gag, ball gag.
.com.
.com. Said like, we buy any ball gags. .com.
Oh, my God. I'm cutting all that because it's not fun.
No, we're leaving that in because it's hilarious. Just because I make a joke doesn't mean you can tell me to cut it.
Well, just because you make a joke doesn't mean you can keep them all in either.
I'm the editor. I keep everything that I say, which
you-
is actually not true. I make a lot of dumb comments that I also cut out.
I think we all do.
Yeah. I cut out most of Gabe. No, I'm just kidding. I keep most of the guests because we
Yeah.
want to highlight the guests when they're on, actually.
Gabe was actually on 4 episodes that nobody even knows. We just cut him completely out of it.
I mean, Gabe is an absolutely hilarious person.
Gabe's been on every news episode this year.
Right, and you cut me out, and I probably forgot I was even there that week because I have a bad memory.
Right, we
yeah, I
send Gabe on the news out in like location in the rain somewhere, like out here in the rain outside of Buffalo Trace Distillery, looking at the distillery fire, and then just cut it.
This A tastes amazing. There's so much interesting stuff here. like the leather belt comment I made earlier. But now what I'm getting, it tastes like a forest smells. Just a deep, rich, woody nature.
It's one of the most herbaceous whiskeys I've ever had. Like you said, leather and
Ball gag.
road tar and ball gag. Absolutely. Ball gag all over it, for sure.
Like cat o' nine tails.
Yeah,
So much vinyl
why should we not
pain.
ever get a sponsor? Why should we never have any whiskey share our podcast? Let's just we just gave this whiskey a ball gag as a tasting note. And we wonder why we can't get any more fans.
Along with Sex Dungeon.
Yeah. Sponsored by Fredericks of Hollywood.
I have to tell you, it's a shame that these both are in here right now because both of these whiskeys are, I mean, we've talked a lot about A. B is delicious. It's so good.
It really is. And it's sweeter than A. Mm-hmm. And it's got some of the notes that A has, just to a lesser extent.
Another splash of B, please.
A little bit of sweet tobacco also is on that.
It certainly is not lacking complexity. The B is a very complex whiskey.
I mean, B is so nice. A is a little in your face.
Yeah.
A is more complex.
But B's smoothness is amazing because I know how high the proof is. It's at least 122.6 or it's 137.
Right.
This is a real tough matchup here.
I feel like B is almost a slightly watered down version of A because there's a lot of similarities between these two. I think where they differ is B has less like oaky woodiness.
And I will say this. I don't like watered down. I like proof down.
Proof down. That's
think
what I mean.
It's like I'm right there with you because
Yes.
it definitely has some of the same notes. There is some tobacco. There is some leather. Just not as in your face.
Yeah.
Are you calling to mind like the finishing time maybe? The rawness is what you're saying?
I mean, I think the rawness is, it doesn't round off into a nice pleasantness per se. It might be pleasant to you for your taste profile, but it's raw in the fact that it's needling you till the very end.
It's a shame one of these whiskeys is going to have to go home.
Yeah, I agree.
These are two of the best whiskeys in the tournament this year, bar none.
You've made your decision?
Ed's decision is in. I am personally hoping for a tiebreaker because I don't know either of these, and I'd like.
That would be so cool for Gabe to
I think
do a tiebreaker for this one.
Anything's possible.
Okay. Well, clean yourself up first. God.
Yeah, throw a bucket of cold water on yourself.
That's my counter. I eat there. Jesus.
well,
I prepare food there.
Hope you got Clorox wipes because I just made a mess.
It smelled like bleach either way.
Okay. Oh, my God.
The results are in.
All right.
Well, I am not going to be doing a tiebreaker.
Oh, shit.
Oh, I can't believe it.
We both picked B?
Both you picked
Wow.
And B was?
B was the... Nulu.
Yep. I just thought that it was a little bit nicer and it was a little bit toned down and a little bit more approachable. I will go to my grave saying the 77 from Breuckelen was the most special and unique whiskey that I've ever drank. I want the bottle in my house. I don't think I could ever drink two in one night. Like, I think it's a game changer. So, like, you drink that, and then you drink a Nulu, and then you drink a Sazerac, and you go to bed. Like, that's pretty much
So I love it. I love this.
I fully
77.
expected you to pick A.
Yeah, so I love it, but it is a little bit harsh on the finish.
Yeah.
And that's what I said. It was like needling you to the very end.
Yeah.
The Nulu doesn't do that. The Nulu, as I said, has a lot of the flavor of the 77 in it, but
Yes.
a little bit proof down, because it is. It's 11 proof points less.
Right. Me and Gabe don't like the high proof as much as you and Jeff do. So.
Yeah, but it is wonderful.
Yes.
These are both wonderful. I'm sorry to see the 77 not go on, but that just means that we can have the rest of it because there was the least of that one.
Right. So the reality is, when I made my choice, I said, you know what? It's going to be interesting because Gabe's going to have to choose the winner because I really thought Scott was going to go A because I knew
I
A.
almost did.
I knew A with Breuckelen. I mean, you were gushing over A for
yeah,
half the session.
I was, but again, I think the finish really just is doing it for me tonight.
It is. And I will tell you right now, the Nulu, this is the third one we've had, and not one of them has disappointed.
Yeah. Go back and listen to our short that we did for Arg, my hearties. This is a pirate talking now. Go back and listen to our Christmas episode. So go back and listen to our Christmas episode where we talked about the Nulu toasted maple barrel finish, and we really loved it then. We did the whole story of the distillery, and they're really up and comers, and they're they're everywhere in New Jersey. I don't know about other states, but every liquor store I go in, they have 7 or 8.
But Nash has a whole stand of them. So you can't go wrong with either one. No. They're both pricey, but they're both worth their money. And so going through is the Nulu. We're not
an upset. We're the first non-upset of this round.
The 2 beats the 3, and we're going to come back with a very interesting matchup: the Alberta Cask Strength Rye against
awesome.
The small upstart old line distillery from Baltimore, Maryland, the American Single Malt. And I have to tell you, they make a rum. What was the rum we had? Like 130 proof rum that was just spectacular.
Excellent.
And Alberta's just been around since the 40s, evidently.
Yeah, 1946.
And isn't this where Whistlepig gets their stuff?
It is.
So it's something you've probably already drank and didn't know it. And so we'll be back with them as soon as we can wash the glasses, and we'll see if we get an upset or if Alberta Cask Strength Rye will go through.
All right. All right, we are back, and we've had 2 upsets and 1 really close non-upset. The second matchup in the 120-plus proof bracket is Alberta Cask Strength Rye and Old Line American Single Malt, and I'm going to tell you about the Alberta Cask Strength.
And I'm going to tell you about the Old Line American Single Malt.
I'm going to do nothing.
No, you're pouring. You're doing a very good job.
You're uppouring.
You think I'm appalling is what you're thinking.
Yes, deploring.
Deplorable, appalling.
What is this, vocabulary class?
I just wanted Gabe.
What is happening?
I wanted Gabe to talk bad about himself, and it worked. He just admitted to the world that he's appalling and deplorable. And if he had a mirror in front of him, he could tell him how ugly he is, too.
This just in, 2/3 of the piney woods of New Jersey is on fire.
Ain't no mirrors in the pine barrens, I'll tell you that.
They are all hot wiring cars and heading this way. Trying to get the old pickup truck started.
All right, so before they get here, let's
we got one more tasting. Let's get it done.
All right, so the mash bill of this Alberta is 100% rye. The proof is 132. The age is at least 5 years. The price, the MSRP is $70. I remember when we bought it when I bought it for the, that's not shade. Right, I'm just saying I happened to buy it.
The Canadian whiskey, right?
At Total Wine, on the Canadian episode, it was $90.
I know. And then Total Wine's usually pretty reasonable.
Yeah, so right over here at the canals, the bottle stop, $65.
Now,
Thank you, Canals.
Was that adjusted for Canadian money?
That could be possible. Maybe Total Wine was putting it up there for the Canadian dollar price, and the bottle stop realized,
hey, wait a minute, these are Canadian dollars.
Yeah,
that could be affecting it. I wasn't trying to be. Well, I was trying to be funny. But
yeah, maybe they looked at it. Oh, it's $9, and they realized no, it should be $62.
So the distiller is Alberta Distillers in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but its parent company is Beam Suntory.
Right, but I don't think they interfere with the day-to-day. They just acquired them to increase their Canadian whiskey holdings, I guess.
And I believe they actually use their Canadian rye in a now-defunct expression of Basil Hayden, their rye version that had some Canadian whiskey in it.
Okay.
That they used it from this distillery because Jim Beam owns both.
Right, owns both. Mm-hmm.
So fun facts, this was featured on our Canadian whiskey episode in episode 53, where I liked it best, but Ed really didn't. This is pretty much the same stuff that Whistlepig uses for many of their expressions, but just aged longer and then sometimes finished in other barrels. The tasting notes for this particular expression is butterscotch, sugar cookies, hazelnuts, baking spice, vanilla fondant, and some oak and lemon. Water tames the proof and unearths a strong buttery bakery profile.
So Old Line's a lot different than that. But once again, they're a veteran-owned company from Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah.
This is 100% malted barley.
Totally different.
I don't know what this particular one is. It's usually at least 120 proof.
This is 123.2.
Right. So they're in the ballpark.
Yeah.
What's interesting about this is it's really somewhere between 1 and 2 years aged because they use small barrels, not 53 liter barrels, which is normally used for whiskeys. But as we saw with a former winner of this tournament, Corsair Dark Rye from Tennessee, they use like 15-gallon barrels.
Yeah.
And what you have is you have more whiskey to wood contact that way, and you get more flavor quicker. The taste, very bold, notes of maple and brown sugar and vanilla vanilla sweetness, as well as some caramel and some chocolate, some cinnamon notes, kind of like a big red gum should be there. And the whiskey shelf said that it had a slight sourness reminiscent of the sourdough bread or yeast that he found in Maker's Mark cask strength.
Oh, interesting.
And then he also mentioned the fact that it had some notes of the Elijah Craig barrel strength. In other words, it's very bourbon-esque, he said, for a single malt. And Scott and I felt the same way because we have had this once before. And when we had it, we talked about how it doesn't really taste like
a single
malt. So,
yeah.
And it's going to be a really interesting matchup once they both get in the glass and in our mouth.
Yeah, so I think this one is like really ripe for an upset because Alberta, the only reason that we seeded it at number 1 is because it's been around since 1946.
Yep.
The other ones have only been around for like a decade, maybe 12 years. So I think if there's going to be an upset, I was expecting it to be here. Of course, we've already had 2 upsets and almost a third one.
Yep. I talked to the old line people over there at the bench, and they're not just happy to be here, all right? They're a 4 seed that came to do some damage. They're looking for the upset here. They fully expect to win.
I was really impressed with the Alberta when I tasted it. I was really impressed with the old line when I tasted it. Ed was only really impressed with the old line. He was so-so on the Alberta, but we'll see what happens tonight.
That was that day and time, and I drank a lot of other Canadian whiskeys. I drank my favorite Crown Royal, so I was probably all like basking in the euphoria.
Yeah.
16
Oh,
year.
shit, it was 16,
16 year
shit.
Crown Royal, so I was so happy with myself.
All right, so the last matchup of round 1. Gabe, please hand us glass A.
Ooh, I have no idea.
I know, isn't it great? I think this one of all of them is the one that we're not going to know which is which.
I have no idea what to expect.
One is darker, I think.
Not much, though.
Not much. It is 132 for the Alberta and 123.2 for the old line.
B's got a better nose. I have tasted them initially, and now I'm putting water on because they're so hot.
Yeah, they're...
All I know is give or take, if there's a tiebreaker or not, I'm trying both of these later. And you can't stop me. I don't care what you do because they're expensive, and I wouldn't buy it for myself because I'm cheap.
Hey, all fair, Gabe. By the way, all fair, Gabe said that had he broken the tie of the last round, he would have taken the 77.
Yeah.
So had it got to a tiebreaker, 77 would have gone through, which just shows you how close they were to getting through.
Oh, B, like I get a cola flavor off of B. Like a cola icy. Remember those?
Oh, yeah.
7-Eleven still has Coca-Cola Slurpees.
Do they? Oh,
yeah.
all right. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Rumor
It's right
has
there.
it that the Canadian Alberta, apparently Geddy Lee has never tried it, so he really can't have an opinion one way or the other.
Why do you bring that up?
I don't know. I like Rush. Rush is a great band. I never saw them live, and I wish I had.
Yeah, I know. I don't think he can really sing anymore. I saw him on that tribute to Taylor Hawkins, and he didn't really.
I missed that.
Yeah, they did YYZ with Danny Carey from Tool.
I did
was
see that.
Awesome.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Geddy Lee never had a great, operatic voice, but he was distinctive enough for.
I mean,
for
he's
his
old.
own
I mean, no
needs.
shade on him.
It was high.
No shade on him.
Hit notes.
I mean, he's in his mid-70s or something now.
Yeah, and if you go back and look at pictures from the mid '70s when they're all wearing kimonos and tight pants, I mean, how can you not, realize the genius of that?
Oh man, these are both delicious. I know.
Wait, just ignore
I did. I'm
that
like
weirdness I just brought up.
I'm just
Go
like-
on.
I'm like, we had Russian kimonos, and I'm like, what the fuck? Where are we at right now? Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm
passing time.
I'm like burning my esophagus out right now, trying to figure out which one of these
I'm
I
so
like.
sorry, Gabe. I got so distracted by the whiskeys that I forgot what you were talking about. I was like, there's just like a zzz in my ear. It was Gabe talking about
Whiskey,
kimonos.
whiskey, Geddy Lee, whiskey, kimono, whiskey,
Burn.
burn, burn.
So anyway,
I put some water in, and I find that they're both more approachable. If you haven't done that, please
I have not. But where were you leaning before the water and now after the water? Has that changed?
I'm dead center. I have no lean yet.
Okay.
I'm completely flabbergasted by both of these.
I mean, they're both terrific. I get, like I said, a cola thing off of B, and the A, tobacco and leather and those qualities that I was getting off the 77 in the
So
previous
we're
round.
back in the dungeon again.
Yeah, we're back in the dungeon.
They are stunningly similar, and they shouldn't be similar at all.
These
Why,
are
one because
extraordinary.
one being a American single malt and one being Canadian.
Yes.
Yes.
Two different
Well,
distilling
yeah,
styles.
it's 100% malted barley and 100% rye.
They are distinctively different distilling factors or styles, I should say.
I mean, if one of these is just malted barley, that makes me insane because it doesn't taste anything like a scotch. I get no barley.
My decision is in. It
Yeah.
is by far the closest of the day. I went with my gut. I went with the one that I thought finished a little bit sweeter. I'll be dead honest with everybody out there. I could come in here in a half hour and pick the exact opposite. I thought the last one's close between the 77 and the Nulu. Nah, this is the closest one of the day for me. I like the Alberta a lot better today than I did on that episode.
This was not quite as close as the last one, but it was absolutely close.
Don't identify me.
I'm just saying what I did. Am I allowed that, Ed? King Ed. Go ahead.
You both picked A.
Oh, shit. We picked the same one again?
Yep.
Yes, you did. And A was... the old line American single malt.
Oh, yeah.
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 So
Take off, A.
it was so close, but those upstarts from Baltimore with the upset of the day knocking off the number one. So we already have an upside down tournament with a 2, a 3, and 2 4s going through to the semis.
Yeah, I said this one was ripe for an upset.
And it was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be because I did not care for the Alberta that much, but I was wrong. It's a great whiskey.
Isn't it?
But I have to tell you, the old line, maybe a year and a half old, that's crazy, against a 5 or 6 year old whiskey.
Yeah. I mean, it just had that much more complexity
Oh
to
my
it.
God, I can't wait for Gabe to try. We're going to stay on air because Gabe's going to try about each one. He knows what he's drinking, but still, he'll tell you what he thinks of them because
They're so close.
So close.
Yeah.
Well, the American single malt had a lovely milk chocolatey nose.
Oh.
And I believe Ed said the Alberta was really lacking in any kind of nose at all.
It is a lot lighter on the nose. That is true. The Alberta.
And it's a little harsher. I don't think the Alberta gains anything from being that hot. I think if they were to proof that down to around 125, it would hit a little better.
Wow, the old line is a bit floral on the tasting.
Yeah, floral's a good one. We didn't say that, but that's very, we keep going leather and herbaceous, but floral's a note that we didn't talk about enough today. And I think you're right, Gabe. The old line was floral.
But it's so surprising, especially in American.
It's got to be
single
the
malt.
smaller barrels and the way that they're approaching how they distill.
Yeah.
The Alberta has a bit of more of a hot butterscotch going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like both of these better than the first two 120 proofs.
Oh, interesting.
They're a lot more flavorful and they're not as harsh.
Well, so Gabe's foreshadowing that old line will knock off Nulu in the next round.
It's not what I'm saying, but I believe that the flavor profile is just a lot more distinctive.
That's his implicit prediction.
I mean, sometimes a burn can just, it might be a great whiskey, but if you're overloaded with heat, it's just going to affect the way you decide.
And
Totally agree.
Right, and I think that the Alberta hurt themselves by being 130 something.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be that hot. It didn't gain anything.
Which I think for me is what hurt at the 77 in the last round.
Even take it down 10. I think it would make a difference.
The old line is just awesome.
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
Isn't
beautiful.
it amazing?
Like I'm walking through like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, and the river's right next to me, and I'm getting the effervescent chocolate blowing
There is
off.
cocoa notes in it. That's a great call. I didn't mention that, but in the finish there is. And I think this is reminiscent of the Corsair Dark Rye, which won the whole thing.
Yeah.
If there's a dark horse in this tournament right now, I think the old line might be it. That was a 4, right?
You're spot on right there.
That was a 4
Yeah.
that won the whole tournament.
And it was like proofed in the 80s. So if we have a
And-
Corsair proofed in the 120s, oh my
Yeah.
God.
I'm almost sad to see that the two went up against each other because I think
Yeah.
this would have been a better matchup against the other two 120s.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Because the selection committee picked this particular ranking.
Yeah.
If it was different, we could have had a different outcome.
Wow, that old line is. I think it's going to go places.
Awesome.
It's really
Yeah,
good.
it's really fucking good.
And they probably don't remember, but they invited Scott and I to come down and do a podcast from
Yeah.
there like 2 years ago.
I know. Then the pandemic happened.
Pandemic happened, and we couldn't get there. So
And the whole Baltimore thing. You have the aquarium, which is nice, and you
No,
have
but
your
Baltimore's great.
and you have
It's
your
not.
soft shell crab
Yeah,
sandwiches.
soft shell crab sandwiches, which Gabe got, and we were all disgusted by.
Long
Because
ago.
Old Line is going on, so we'll say it on the next podcast. We'll tell the whole story
Right.
about Gabe's open-faced soft shell crab sandwich that we all vomited.
all right, I will say right now, I've had some great times in Baltimore. Fells Point.
I have also.
I used to go to
Yes.
the Preakness every year with my friends.
I know. I'm just joking.
Baltimore is a lot of fun. I enjoyed The Wire.
Omar, great character, right?
And Homicide and everything else. All right.
Homicide, Life on the Street.
All right, so
Right. Yeah.
let's wrap this up.
Yeah, so Gabe, what do you think about the winners that are going on? So we got Not a King of Rye's going on. The Lost Monarch is going on. Those both in the 90 proof bracket. And then in the 120 proof bracket, we have the Nulu Single Barrel Bourbon and the Old Line American Single Malt. We've had 3 upsets. What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, I got the old line right in my mouth right now, and I was really pleasantly surprised. I think that in the Journeyman is going to be coming down to it head to head.
Interesting. Yes, I can see
I
some
like both of them.
similarities between the two of them.
It's going to be interesting because I think that the Nulu is very different than the old line. So it's going to be a matter of taste at that moment. The Not a King and the Lost Monarch might be more similar than we remember.
Yeah.
And we're talking about that maybe because so many people source that when you get a grass to glass distillery like Journeyman, that it hits a little different. It's a little unique because it's their product.
And it's a small distillery. They don't have like thousands of barrels to blend together and just smooth out their flavor profile.
Yeah, they let their product stand for itself.
Yeah.
All right, so I think this has been successful. We'd like to put our congratulations on Not a King Rye.
I love this so much.
The Redwood Empire Lost Monarch.
Yeah.
Both going through in the 90 proof bracket. We also want to give our congratulations to my retirement present, the Nulu Single Barrel Bourbon. The second seed going through against the old line American Single Malt. You'll see these 4 again in the semifinals in round 3. Tune in next week when for round 2, you'll have another 8 whiskeys battling it out.
All right. Well, that's it. For the Whiskey Tangent Podcast, I'm Scott.
I'm Ed.
I'm Gabe.
And it's that time of the year, everybody. We're just getting started. Whiskey Madness
Booyah.
2023.
You just gonna take that, or will you fucking fight back? Yeah. You ain't gonna make it, you ain't never ever gonna break it. You can never beat them and they're better than you face it. Thinking that they give a damn, you're not thinking straight, kid. No, they don't give a damn, you got what I'm saying? I'm not fucking playing, I'll give it to you straight, man. There's too many others and you're not that great, man. Stop what you're saying, stop what you're making. Everybody here knows that you just fake it.